finding an internship or a job is challenging just in general for many. But in an environment now where we are in the midst of recession, stemming from a global pandemic and other factors, it's become even more challenging. And this past summer was pretty tough for a lot of students who had an internship in hand, but lost it, or their internship experience had to go from live to virtual. And so, so it's very, very tough right now. And so wanted just to come out the gate and just ask our panelists, how can a college student make themselves more competitive and looking for an internship or a job? And anyone can jump in to tackle.
Hi, it's Benji, I can go. It's a really interesting question that I get asked often. I always tell students, you really should just be yourself. There's no other version of you out there. And although we want to always remain competitive and marketable, being genuine is an amazing attribute. So I think a student can really position themselves at an advantage by being knowledgeable about the company. So, just to pick on one of my colleagues on the panel, to understand what Nike isn't necessarily perhaps to understand what the latest shoes are coming out, but perhaps like how their stock's performing and some of the ventures that they're working into. And I'm not going to speak on behalf of Nike, but just things like that. So when you come across to a recruiter or an ambassador of the company, representative of the company, you're going to sound so much more research and polished to be knowledgeable and say, oh, I have a Nike t-shirt. Isn't really going to cut it to show how you're interested in the company, but rather showing that you're knowledgeable and understanding about the company and see how they could be a future employer to you, I think will make you tremendously more marketable.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Benji. And before we go on, I just want to let the attendees know that once again, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. So please take notes and think about what you want to ask the panelists in just a short bit. All right, so anybody else want to chime in and to share how students can be more competitive? Yes, Jenny.
Yes, I'll go. So for me, it's all about storytelling, because I feel like every student can kind of research and figure out how to put their best foot forward in terms of resume writing, applying, writing a good email, interviewing well, all of that, like all that stuff you can Google, right? Of course, research, like Benji said, be knowledgeable about the company. Those to me are kind of like no-brainers. So for me, what makes a student stand out, especially in these challenging times where positions are limited, is telling your story. Who are you? Why should we hire you? What can I know about you that's not on your resume? So for me, of course, I look through the resume, but I want to know what's not on here that makes you someone valuable that we want to hire and invest in. At BDO, we don't just hire interns to intern and get coffee. We hire interns that we want to develop and convert to associates and eventually, make partner. So I want to see everything about you that makes you, that makes you different and valuable. And, just because we may come from diverse backgrounds, we may feel like sometimes we have to mute that in corporate America. And I would encourage you not to. I would encourage you to, show employers who you are and what makes you you.
All right, terrific, Jenny. All right, John.
Yeah, so going off of that, actually, as a current student, I think the best thing you could do right now, in my eyes, would be to join clubs. Whether it be something that you find as a hobby or something that you find you want to pursue professionally, like a marketing club or HR club, something like that. To me, joining clubs, whether it be professional or something that you find as a hobby, it shows kind of what they said. It shows your story. It shows who you are. And when we hire people to be our seasonal workers, we want them to go on to a longer career with us or with a different company. So we do want them to bring that outside perspective into the Kings. So being part of a club, being part of a professional organization brings an outside perspective that we probably wouldn't have. So I think the thing that you can do right now as a current student would be start joining those clubs.
All right, terrific. I'm a big fan of clubs as well. So far, start with the basics, be knowledgeable about the company. That's a no-brainer for sure. Do that. And then tell your story. Tell what's not on the resume, and then certainly join student clubs. All right, anybody else want to chime in on that question? What students can do to be more competitive in this environment?
Ron, can I just add something briefly?
Sure, Maria.
And I have to apologize, I dropped off for a second there. So if hopefully this wasn't, I'm not reiterating anything, but I think all of those are great points. I think taking a step back and reflecting on what are your goals, what are your passions, where do you see yourself, right? And making sure that you have like that roadmap or even just that general idea of where you want to go and what lines up with your interests and passions. And then from there, also doing like a sort of a self-assessment as far as what skills do I already have? What skills can I work on? And with all the resources available out there, whether it's, content on LinkedIn or just so many different resources, free online classes, the resources you may have at your universities, look to fine tune and to improve those areas where you could see some growth. So whether that is, depending on what position you might be interested, that business communication is critical. How do you communicate effectively? Okay, let me go take a course on that. Excel or coding, whatever it may be, position yourself well so that you're hitting on those key skills that your ideal position is going to be looking for.
Great stuff. All right. Yes, William.
Yeah, so what I wanted to speak about was more around just the times we're in because of the sheer volume of candidates that are applying to many of our companies. I mean, Ron has assembled quite a few stellar organizations, so I mean, it's pretty fantastic that you got us all on here. I think where students make a mistake is trying to reach out to maybe the recruiter, especially in the busy time of the year, because I'm sure many of us are fielding lots of in-mail, et cetera. And what I would actually say, getting back to what John mentioned around joining clubs, is one, as you're a member of those organizations, talk to former members that are currently at the companies that you want to work with, get referrals directly from them. A lot of us, and again, I don't want to speak for all the companies, but we pretty much aren't going to campuses, right, because of COVID. So all of us probably have some form of virtual event similar to this. I know we just had one last night on diversity and inclusion with all of our ERGs. So my advice is to definitely attend those events, find out ways in which you can network and partner with people that are already in the organization, and then get referred directly that way. Is probably the best advice that I can give you versus trying to approach one of us. Because sadly, you're going to get lost in the sauce, and just wanted to offer that as some advice there.
A great point, William. Thank you for sharing that.